Back now with a 30 million jobs special for you. Our specialist fosters and seeks to foster cultures of innovation, not just structures of innovation. He says it starts with the awakening that we have problems, and that by tapping into the strongest networks of people around us, once we realize we have these problems, we can actually harvest solutions. Gary Shapiro is the CEO of the Consumer Electronics Association and author of Comeback, How Innovation Will Restore the American Dream. When we talk about the cultures of innovation, why is that first culture, which is how do I learn, what don't I know, what can I find out, why is that precursor so important when you look at the cultures in places like Silicon Valley, Austin, or others that are so good at this?
Actually, I'm talking about the American culture. We're a nation of immigrants. Our forefathers thought they could do something better. It's genetic. It's who we are. We ask questions in our school. We're not good at learning by rote, which I think is a good thing. And we also have a First Amendment, which allows us to push back against the status quo. Plus, we're a market-oriented economy. We're entrepreneurial. Our kids have lemonade stands. And we have winners and losers. All that makes us the most innovative country in the world. It's just not in technology. It's in motion pictures and music and in medicine and biotech. It's who we are, and it's our competitive strength in the world. And it's something we have to recognize as a country and work towards furthering, because I think we're threatening it right now by some of the things we're doing.
Yeah, and speaking of threatening it, how much does the government's willingness to run basically a constant set of two sets of rules, one set for those who pay them for tax favors, pay them for subsidies, pay them for structural benefits, and one set for those who don't? How much does the government's advocacy of opacity as opposed to transparency in all networks hinder the ability for the sort of people that you're talking about to function?
Well, the government's doing some things right and some things wrong. Today, the House just passed the Jobs Act, which basically, and it was bipartisan, it allows companies to start up and get money without a lot of paperwork. That's a very good thing. We passed the free trade agreements. That's a good thing.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly about the free trade. The free trade agreements in their service are a good thing unless you're into offshoring financial speculation to Panama, which is the only reason to pass that rule, or unless you're really into rigged trade with China. So I'm not going to give you a pass on all those, but there are some things that are
well,
good.
As long as you enjoy your smartphone and are using technology products, we're benefiting the fact that we're inventing great products here, and I've been in those factories. That's not where educated Americans want to work. Our focus, if we want to go to manufacturing, we should be more like Germany. High-skilled manufacturing, specialty, and do good things like that. We've also, what we haven't done is we haven't attacked the deficit yet. We have to look at that, and we have to go after skilled immigration. We're paying taxpayer money to train people from other countries. They come here, we give them PhDs in hard sciences, and then we kick them out. That's not a good strategy to get the best and brightest and create your competitors elsewhere. We want to have people here. What else we're doing wrong?
Hold on, I'm going to interrupt you just because I got three other people that would love to talk, and the premise of this segment is theoretically a conversation. So go ahead, Crystal.
Hey, Gary, this is Crystal Ball. How are you doing?
Great.
I was actually wondering, you mentioned that you feel like our students don't learn very well by rote. They're encouraged to ask questions from an early age. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, because I actually see it differently. I feel like our education system is quite outdated and focuses too much on learning by rote. Do you see innovations and reforms that you think are encouraging or that we need to push forward with in that direction?
Well, I think we're going in the right direction in a sense. We're holding teachers accountable. At some point, we'll start paying teachers differently depending on what they teach. A phys ed teacher should not make the same amount as a science teacher. And what we're doing is we're going in a way where technology can be used so it's individualized learning. Some kids are video, some are audio, some are live learners, and we have to recognize that kids are different. But in terms of our culture, though, our culture is a good one for education in that we just don't do rote. Look, we don't do great on standardized tests. Some people are very upset about that, but the ages which do, they're not creative cultures the way we are, and we should be celebrating and working on our strengths, recoinizing that just.
So hold on, you believe that but you have just gone on national television and written off all of Asia as a singular event, which I suspect a lot of Asians might object to your willingness to silo them as lacking creativity on a global basis, and suggesting. I mean, I certainly we wouldn't say that all black people lack creativity or that all Hispanic people lack creativity. It just seems I see where you're going, but it strikes me as this sort of a very absolute. Do you think I'm inappropriate to bring up that point of criticism?
Well, I believe in American exceptionalism, and I believe part of it is because of who we are. We're the most diverse culture in the world, and that's the strength of us. We're heterogeneous. Homogeneous cultures, and the cultures there are very, very good at rote. Look, they do a lot of things better than us, but we should focus on what we're good at. And I am speaking in generalities. Look, there's a reason that China and other parts of Asia are spending thousands of students to our universities. We have phenomenal universities. Let's keep those students here. Let's have them start businesses. Let's be able to employ them. Let's not force our companies, our best companies like Microsoft and Apple and so many others, to hire overseas and build overseas with our educational laws, our immigration system, and our tax laws especially are encouraging all this overseas development rather than investment in the United States.
Hey, Gary, this is Ari Melber. I disagree with your notion of, I disagree with your notion of sort of a geographic determinism. So let me turn to a different topic where maybe I'll be more interested in your analysis. When you talk about networks and information flow, there are a lot of constructive networks. People talk about the open source software community where people are creating value and sharing the value, or Creative Commons, which has multiple levels of sharing, which is very different from a binary model like a Facebook, which says we'll take your stuff and that's the end of the sharing. What are examples of constructive or destructive networks that you've looked at in your work here that you think are sort of some of what you're talking about?
Well, this may cut against what you're saying, but for example, if you look at Apple or Qualcomm or Microsoft or some of the most successful U.S. companies, when these companies are being attacked abroad, which they are because they have closed systems, that's not a great thing for the U.S. We have every major internet company that was started or is in the U.S. Everyone, Google, Yahoo, eBay, Amazon, E-Trade, Foursquare, Facebook, Twitter. You can call those closed systems. I think they're great, and I think that's American ingenuity at work, and we should be supporting those companies. Now, if someone else wants to come along, they can. There's very low barriers to entry in the internet, and I think we have to be very careful before our legal system, our Justice Department, our Federal Trade Commission start attacking us, because that becomes catnip abroad, and then they're attacked abroad. What every other government in the world does, they protect their best companies. Our government goes after our best companies, and it's not very healthy.
Go ahead. Gary, it's Torre. I know you're speaking in generalities and sort of meta ways of understanding. When you say we're a nation of immigrants, obviously I blanch at that a little bit, but we understand what you mean generally. But I want to talk about the emotion that's undergirding what you're talking about. There's this sort of undercurrent, or this chyron beneath you talk about channel anger into innovation. Is it really anger that is holding the country back right now, or is it more of a sort of despair that's holding the country back?
Well, I think what you're referring to is I write for Forbes, and I wrote a piece about the fact that Americans are angry. They're angry at their government because both Republicans and Democrats have gotten themselves in the corner, and they're not solving problems. They're creating pledges. The Republicans trying to deal with the costs of entitlements, and they're getting beat up by Democrats, and the Republicans are signing tax pledges, so the Democrats aren't happy. So we're not dealing with the fundamental questions we have to deal with. And the big one, frankly, is the deficit. It is killing us, and it will kill innovation in so many ways. So when you have a choice now, you can raise taxes, you can cut, can grow, and growth comes from innovation, and that's why I'm focused on innovation. I think you have to do all three of those things, and I think we have to hire political leaders who are willing to address the tough questions, who are willing to ask the American people to sacrifice. None of them are doing that now. It's all promising you something that they're not going to be able to deliver, and we're screwing our children, if I may say, because we're stealing their future, and that's stealing our ability and our strength as innovators. So I'm saying let's focus on what we're good at, let's make the tough decisions, and let's move forward as a nation. And rather than hating each other, let's go back and attack a problem together the way we used to do in World War II or against terrorism or something like that. Right now, we're all just fighting each other, and it's very unhealthy for our economic future and for our children.
All right, Gary, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today. And whether it is a culture of innovation in health or in